was on the straight and narrow. Like you didn't see all this crazy stuff in the news once we got married and away from him. So for me to just not be on the show because he said, and he has no reason. Also, he just likes to say, I'm there seeking fame or I'm seeking God. It's like, no, at least let Kyle show that he's actually married, because that's not even an accurate depiction of his life that you put on this season. So it didn't bother us that we weren't on it, because he wasn't trying to portray the reality of who Kyle was dating, but he wanted all his other kids to show reality. Even though he didn't like Will, he still allowed Will to go on the show, get paid for it, and at least show his face. With me, and just didn't happen. Well, I was like on a season of an episode in the background, but not really on the show.
Yeah. The alleged rumor is that Chase and Savannah are having a really hard time. I'm sure Nanny is too, with financially, aside from Savannah's podcast. I'm not sure what they have for income. I mean, what do you think their financial state is like now?
I hate to say karma, but I'm a big believer in prayer, and just like I've kept myself going through this tumultuous 7 years with them. Actually, I would say 10 years, because just stopped till last year. And just all the lawyers I've had to pay, all the time, all my energy, just to end with divorce, because it was just unbearable. And I'm not saying that it's what you deserve, or it's not anything that I don't wish bad on anyone, but to look and see that everyone was pointing fingers at me. Even Savannah sent some mean tweets. I'm sure they're now deleted, and I wish I took screenshots of them. I'll look back and see if I could find them. But she was retweeting what her dad was saying and adding some of her own things as well. And I get she's just defending her father, but it still like hurts that I was always the one as the oddball, the gold digger, the everything that I'm not, right? Just portrayed as this person. And now when I see that, you guys lost the show, you could have had a good ex-sister-in-law or someone that would have helped you, or would have said, hey, what do you need? Or, you could never have a, a a shortage of a helping hand of someone that was there and lived through it with you and that really knows the situation, not just a stranger on the street. I was involved in the family, but now you lost all that, because when you were up on your high horse, you were so busy putting everybody down, including Kyle and Lindsay. I get that's the power of blood, that you'll always forgive, but I'm sure it's hard for them because they've had to also sit back a lot of times. Lindsay also, let's not forget, wasn't on the show for a lot of seasons, whether it was her choice or kicked off. It seemed like a mixture of both when I hear both sides of the story. It can't be easy. That they were thrown to the wolves too. And now the tables have really turned, and it's sad, but it's like, that's why you should always treat people well, because you just don't know. They really didn't see this coming. I don't think Todd, Julie, even if you listen back on their podcast, they were confident. They thought they were just going to get a couple of years and they would be right back out on the show. They did not expect 12 and 7 years.
No, and they even thought, even now it's surfacing that they're finally saying, like, maybe our appeal is not going to be granted. Well, your appeal is not going to be granted. Let me just tell you, that's not how it works. It's not happening. Does any part of you, because we talk about like Todd and all these things that he did to you guys, and he was controlling to Chase and Savannah, like, do you think, like, even though apparently, like Sarah said, they're having a hard time with, like, do you think this is a good thing for Chase and Savannah, like, to have your parents in jail, just that out of your lives, and just start to figure it out?
Sadly, yes. If you just see the articles, and for Savannah, saying like how she misses them so much and it's hard for her to even do anything. I think there was an article where she said she couldn't even get married without them. And it's like, honey, from a psychological background, that's scary, right? If you can't move on or live your life, not saying your parents are not a big intricate part of your life, but if they are to your life where you can't function without them, because that's what it sounded like. She couldn't marry, she couldn't date, she couldn't handle the kids. The articles just keep coming out, and it's like, I hope these aren't real quotes, because it sounds like she can't function. And that's when you're being controlled and you're in a toxic, abusive relationship, parent, child, whatever. So I think it does have some good, but I think the codependency is so deep, and that even goes for Kyle and Lindsay, that I don't know how they'll do without their father long term. Hopefully they'll figure it out. That's the goal. But without therapy, or hopefully they are in therapy, I don't know. And like you said, no income, right? Like, just like when you ask What did Todd and Julie do? The big question is, what did Chase and Savannah do? What, Kyle was the only one who really had a real job when he was with me. And now I think he still does with his new wife. But that's really the only way you're going to make it in this world is work, like actually having a real work. And the ways they make money don't seem to be a long-term strategy.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you're so used to like daddy's money, and I mean, the show doesn't help because now that is your money that, there is this rumor, like Sarah said, they're shopping the show around. I mean, I hate to break it to everyone. I don't think they're going to get a show. I just don't think a network is going to go down that road. I mean, you've already been there. So, right. It's almost like taking a step back. Like, it's almost like, to me, Lindsay and Kyle are better off in a sense that they learned the hard skills of life earlier on. But like, it's got to be a good thing ultimately, I would think, for Chase and Savannah, as awful as it is to have your parents in jail. Like you said, like if the codependency is that deep, you got to just take a long time. But today's today, whatever it is, like it's not good. You got to break away from these parents.
Yeah. And that's my thing too. You just said a good thing that I just thought about is like the network. Like, I just don't think USA really took accountability the way that they should have. I've seen so many people just so canceled and everyone's getting in trouble for things. And they did a big scam. They like messed up a lot of people's lives. This is like documented abuse and like legal abuse they've done to people. And you just wonder, like, none of the reps, none of the production, like they kind of quietly like sunsetted the show and kind of just like, okay, it wasn't like they kind of stayed out of it. And I wonder to myself, like, is that how it goes these days? Like, he's never had to apologize. They didn't force him to say anything. He literally left acting like he was this pastor that he'd been misrepresented and that he'd been doing the Lord's work. And I just am shocked that he never had to. No one has held him accountable. And they made all this money off of this show and they destroyed everyone's life and everyone just kind of just never talked about it.
When you heard the sentences come down, 12 years and 7 years, I mean, you talk about karma. Did you think that was enough for both of them, or you think they should have got more?
Yeah, I actually think that was light. I really do. Only because he had no, like I said, again, the remorse. If they had come through and said, we probably shouldn't have done even one of the crimes, but to keep your innocence, even after sentencing, that's a level of narcissism I don't think anyone's has seen. He left. I mean, he went into the jail saying that, with a statement that they were planning to appeal because what was it? They had already sent like a long documentation of challenging some of the witnesses.
Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they tried to discredit all the witnesses, including Mark Braddock, his alleged gay lover, who really was a big whistleblower, by the way, have you ever talked to Mark? Did you and Mark